Hi everyone, Edwin here. Today I want to discuss one of the most talked about launches in District 11, Dunearn House. Now, if you have been following the project, you've probably heard all sorts of opinions. Some people say Dunearn House is too expensive. Others say, why buy a 99-year leasehold condo when I can buy a freehold resale condo nearby? Those are fair concerns. Because if you are spending $2 to $4 million, you need to be assured you are making the right purchase. So, after studying the land sales, upcoming launches, Turf City transformation plans, and the surrounding resale transactions, I've come to a very interesting conclusion. I think the question is not, is Dunearn House expensive? The better question is, will Dunearn House still look expensive 5 years from today? Because when we look at where land prices are heading, where new launch prices are heading, and how District 11 is evolving, I believe the answer may surprise you. So in today's video, let's look at the numbers objectively. No hype, no sales pitch, just facts. Today, I'll cover the key project information you need to know, the Bukit Timah Turf City transformation, the two biggest concerns buyers have, the two key reasons why one may consider buying, and finally, my honest opinion on this project. By the end of this video, you can decide for yourself whether Dunearn House deserves a place on your shortlist. Before we decide whether this project is worth buying, let us first discuss Dunearn House. Dunearn House is developed by a joint venture between Fraser's Property, CSC Land, and Secuse House. It includes 380 units across 2 blocks of 19-story and 3 blocks of 10-story residential units, which is very rare in Bukit Timah. Buyers can certainly look forward to some unblocked greenery views. The project sits on a 99-year leasehold site and is expected to TOP around 2030. In terms of unit mix, Dunearn House has got 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and 4 bedroom layouts. There's no 1-bedroom unit, and it has got 2 different collections, Luxury Collection, Pinnacle Collection, which basically houses the 3-bedroom premium and 4-bedroom units. More than 70% of the units comprise 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom layouts, which would appeal to the smaller, younger owner-occupier families. Now, let's take a look at the location. Dunearn House is strategically located along Dunearn Road in Bukit Timah, within the highly anticipated Turf City transformation area, which I will be sharing later. The development is just a short walk to 6th Avenue MRT station on the downtown line, providing direct access to Orchard Road, the CBD, and other key parts of Singapore. Residents will also enjoy proximity to renowned schools such as Nanyang Primary, Methodist Girls' School, as well as natural attractions including Bukit Timah Nature Reserve and the Rail Corridor. What I like about Dunearn House is that you are getting the best of both worlds. You're not betting on a future town that's yet to be built. You are buying into a mature Bukit Timah, one of Singapore's most established and prestigious residential districts, while enjoying the upside from massive transformation of Turf City, right at your doorstep. There is a major transformation in Turf City in the next 20 to 30 years. URA has planned for up to 20,000 homes in Turf City. First up, there will be 15,000 to 20,000 public and private residential homes. A total of 22 heritage buildings will be retained. Besides good public transport connectivity, there will also be large greenery spaces. Secondly, URA has envisioned for Turf City to bring communities together. As you can see, there's a lot of green spaces, future neighborhood parks, and activity areas. Lastly, there will be a whole lot of different amenities from F&B, retail options at the 2 grandstands, schools, sports facilities, and medical care amenities. Basically, this is going to be a new township where residents will live within a 10-minute walk to an MRT or bus stop. Under the Bukit Timah Turf City plans, there will be 4 neighborhood zones. The Cross Island Line Turf City MRT, located in the civic heart of Turf City, the racecourse neighborhood, will be ready by 2032, and it's just 7 minutes walk from Dunearn House. What I like about Dunearn House is that it's not only near 1, but 2 MRT lines. And do you know a fun fact? Within 7 MRT stations from 6th Avenue, residents will have access to 6 MRT lines. For people who live in Bukit Timah like myself, where do we usually go for our amenities? We would go to Beauty World Bukit Timah Plaza, Coronation Plaza, One Holland Village for all our food and grocery shopping. Agree? With the Turf City transformation, Bukit Timah will have its own first real township. Not only does Bukit Timah retain its green spaces, its exclusivity, but also creates a new lifestyle destination. In summary, Dunearn House stands to enjoy 6 key benefits from the Bukit Timah Turf City transformation. MRT at your doorstep, road upgrades, like the Dunearn Road, Eng Neo Avenue and Bukit Timah Road will be widened to improve traffic. There will also be a 40-hectare nature park just next door. There will be a full lifestyle amenities within just 10 minutes walk. Our heritage buildings will be conserved. And Dunearn House, being the first residential plot, will certainly enjoy first mover capital advantage. Now, let's go into the next segment. The two biggest buyer concerns. Before we go into the positives, let's talk about the concerns because I feel buyers deserve to hear both sides of the story. One of the most common concerns I hear from buyers is this. Edwin, I like the location, but Dunearn House feels expensive. And honestly, I completely understand where that concern comes from. When buyers first look at the pricing, many compare it against older resale condos nearby. Others compare it against freehold developments. And naturally, the conclusion is, why should I pay this amount for a 99-year leasehold condo? Now, before I answer that question, let me first say something important. If we are comparing Dunearn House against a 20, 30-year-old resale condo, then yes, on a price per square foot basis, Dunearn House may appear expensive. However, on a quantum basis, which I will cover in the later part of this video, that's a different story. And if we are comparing it against certain older freehold projects that were launched many years ago, it may appear expensive as well. But I think that's only half the story. Because property values are not determined solely by what something costs in the past. They're also influenced by what it would cost to replace today. And that's where the conversation becomes much more interesting. I wanted to find out whether Dunearn House is really expensive or whether we are simply looking at a new pricing reality. So I compiled the land bid prices of projects awarded by URA from September 2023 to April 2025. What I found was quite interesting. Across this period, the average land cost was about 1,157 per square foot per plot ratio. Then I looked at projects awarded from June 2025 to June 2026, including sites such as Holland Link, Dover Road, River Valley Green, Newton, and Peckhey Road. The average land cost jumped to approximately 1,480 per square foot per plot ratio. That's a staggering 28% increase in just 1 year. Think about that for a moment. Developers today are buying land almost 1/3 more expensive than developers were just a few years back. If land costs have gone up 28%, can we realistically expect future launches to be cheaper? Just look at some of the recent government land sales. In June 2026 alone, the Peckhey Road site right next to the famous Newton Food Centre was awarded at a land rate of 1,865 per square foot per plot ratio. Also, the River Valley Green Parcel C site attracted a top bid of 1,730 per square foot per plot ratio, setting a new benchmark for River Valley. That's about 22% higher than a nearby River Valley site sold just a year ago with Modern. What does this tell us? It tells us developers remain extremely confident in the long-term prospects of the market. They are willing to pay significantly more for land today because they believe future selling prices will be even higher. And this trend isn't just happening in the CCR market. To put things into perspective, Sky at Holland was built on CCR land acquired at around 1,285 per square foot per plot ratio and achieved an average launch price of approximately 2,953 per square foot. Today, the Bedok Rise GLS site in Tanah Merah has already been awarded at around 1,330 per square foot per plot ratio. Think about that. An OCR site today is already commanding a higher land price than what developers paid for a Holland Road site just a few years ago. In the RCR, the Dover Drive site was acquired at approximately 1,556 per square foot per plot ratio, implying that future launch prices that may surprise many buyers. If this trend continues, we may eventually see OCR and RCR launches achieving prices that were once associated only with prime CCR districts. That's why many buyers are beginning to realize that property prices are increasingly being supported by replacement costs. If developers are willing to pay tomorrow's prices for land today, which properties are still being valued based on yesterday's prices? And if buyers truly felt new launches were overpriced, why are we consistently seeing projects achieve 80%, 90%, or even near sell-out rates shortly after launch? The reality is that many buyers understand where the market is heading. They recognize that future launches are likely to be launched from a much higher cost base. Rather than waiting for prices to come down, many are choosing to secure a property today before the next wave of launches sets a new benchmark. Which brings us back to Dunearn House. Interestingly, Dunearn House sits on a site acquired at around 1,410 per square foot per plot ratio. Many of the upcoming CCR sites are already transacting at between 1,005 and 1,865 per square foot per plot ratio, significantly above Dunearn House land cost. So perhaps the question is no longer, is Dunearn House expensive today? The better question may be, will future launches be even more expensive? One of the biggest concerns I hear from buyers is this: Edwin, I understand the location. I understand the transformation story. But what happens when I want to sell? Can I make money or not? Who's going to buy from me? And honestly, I think that's a very reasonable concern. This is how I will always advise my clients. Please do not buy if you do not have a clear exit plan. To address the question, can I make money? I actually went to study the profitability of projects in the area. I selected 4 projects that are relatively new or less than 5 years old. The first is a freehold project called Royal Green that TOP in 2021, followed by 4th Avenue Residences, a leasehold project that TOP in 2023. Both of these projects are just right opposite from Dunearn House. Then we also have Mayfair Modern, Mayfair Gardens that will launch around the same time. So how did Royal Green perform? For people who buy freehold, their manner of holding is usually longer, and it typically also takes a longer period of time to see real profits. But if you look at it, the 2-bedroom, for example, after holding on for 4 years plus, can still see profit around 123,000. Not too bad. For the 3-bedroom, after holding on for 3 years plus, can still profit close to 300k. We now look at the next comparable product, 4th Avenue Residences. A 2-bedroom that was recently sold fetched close to 200k after holding for 4 years plus. What caught my attention was the 947 square feet 3-bedroom compact unit. The owner made close to $500,000 after staying for just 6.5 years. Hence, it is a proven fact that people who buy into this area can enjoy the new lifestyle for a few years and still make 300, 400k profit. Next, we look at Mayfair Modern and Mayfair Gardens. Similarly, as you can see, the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom profitability is quite strong here, despite the projects each having just about 200 units. Can you imagine when the Turf City transformation starts to take shape? What's more to come? Now that we know projects in Bukit Timah do make money, we come to the next question. Can I exit Dunearn House as a leasehold? Let's take a look at this comparison between Royal Green, which is a freehold, versus 4th Avenue Residences, a 99-year leasehold project. The red line being Royal Green and the blue line is 4th Avenue Residences. Over the past 6 years, we see that the leasehold has outperformed the freehold by 12%. Reason why it outperformed is because buyers bought at a lower entry price. In comparison, Royal Green is an en bloc piece of land. The developer had to tear down and rebuild. Hence, the entry price back then was significantly higher. The difference of about 300 per square foot at the point of entry had eventually narrowed down to about $100 per square foot today. I believe in the future, Royal Green will continue to hold its value. However, if your horizon to hold on to your property is about 5 to 10 years, leasehold may be a safer choice. Next, we look at Duchess Residences, which is a freehold, versus Duchess Crest, a 99-year leasehold. In the last 20 years, we observed that the freehold had 8% growth, whereas the leasehold enjoyed 110% growth. The leasehold here had outperformed freehold by about 100%. Again, we observe that the price gap has narrowed significantly and eventually converged, which means today people are willing to buy a leasehold at the price of a freehold. Granted, you may not want to hold 20 years, but should you want to exit anytime, you know you have the flexibility to exit with some profit and to exit with confidence. Let's see who the future buyers of Dunearn House will be. Earlier, I mentioned there will be 15,000 to 20,000 public and private residential homes in Turf City. Having a closer look at the master plan, all these orange color plots are going to be future residential homes. Together, they will form the first pool of potential buyers, especially HDB upgraders when they have met their 5 years MOP. Next, the surrounding landed homeowners in Bukit Timah who are also looking to right size or buy nearby for their kids will form the second pool of potential buyers. And lastly, owners of million-dollar HDB flats in the surrounding estates like Redhill, Commonwealth, Queenstown, Clementi, Ghim Moh, and Tiong Bahru, many of whom aspire to enter into the prestigious Bukit Timah belt. Here, we take a look at how the surrounding resale condo will be when Dunearn House TOP in 2030 or maybe earlier in 2029. Imagine that by then, a newlywed couple wants to buy a place around this area for the schools and amenities, and they are looking for a brand new, ready to move in development. Where can they go? At one glance, you can see that the existing condos will be 7 to 8 years old, 19 to 20 years old, with few even more than 3 decades old. The natural options would be either Watton House, which is fully sold and TOP this year, or Dunearn House. Will these HDB upgraders find Dunearn House affordable to upgrade? Recently, a 5-room flat in Clementi sold for 1.58 mil. According to Caveats Lodge, newly MOP 5-room flats there transact at an average of 1.46 mil today. Assuming 4 years from now, HDB prices remain the same in 2030 and a 9-year-old 5-room flat in Clementi can fetch 1.46 mil. After taking back the sales proceed, the initial outlay of 25% down payment and the loan principal service, the HDB upgrader has a total funds of 1.15 mil. Imagine today a buyer of a 1,010 square feet 3-bedroom mid-floor unit in Dunearn House were to enter at 3,200 per square foot. Just to give a bit of context, why do I use 3,200 per square foot? Because its land bid price was 1,410 per square foot per plot ratio. For River Modern, a new River Valley project launched last year, its land bid price was 1,420 per square foot per plot ratio, and average selling price was about 3,200 per square foot. So it's safe to assume Dunearn House would likely sell at an average price of 3,200 per square foot. For illustrative purpose, if this buyer were to exit in 2030 at 3,700 per square foot with a 500 PSF profit, he will need to sell at 3.7 mil. What is the amount needed for the HDB upgrader to buy this unit? It's 1.09 mil. With 1.15 million of funds, can they upgrade to a 3-bedroom unit at Dunearn House? The answer is yes, they can. Let's take a look at what I feel are 2 key reasons one may consider buying into Dunearn House. I'm sure that by now the answer is clear, but allow me to dwell further. Earlier on, we talked about how Dunearn House is future-proof against rising land costs across all regions. Let us now examine how safe is the entry price, because if we can enter safe, do you agree it will be also easier for us to exit in the future? So what we have got here are the average and maximum transacted for the 2-bedder resale condos in the area. And what you see is that a lot of 2-bedders, especially the older ones like Maple Woods, the Tesserina, the Cascadia, have all transacted above 2 million, hitting new record highs of 2.4 mil, 2.6 mil. Assuming an average PSF of 3,002, using River Modern as a comparable benchmark as explained earlier, I've worked out the estimated selling prices of various layouts in Dunearn House. What if today a 2-bed, 1-bath at Dunearn House is only starting from an average of 1.7 mil? Is it safe? Even for a 2-bed plus study going for an average of 2.2 mil, has the resale market already accepted this price? Let's move on to the 3-bedder layouts. If they were to sell averagely between 2.8 mil to 3.3 mil, again the resale market has already accepted these prices with record highs of over 4 million seen in Maple Woods and the Floridan. which gives a price gap of between 500k to 1 mil. Moving on to the 4-bedder. If today the average prices for the 4-bedder at Dunearn House range between 3.8 to 4.4 mil, how many resale transactions have already been done at the 4 mil mark? And for Maplewoods, yes, the 4-bedder at 1,007 to 3,000 square feet are much bigger. But if you are able to save 2 million and still secure a 4-bedder at Dunearn House, is this a good deal? Next up, this is the currently available CCR new launch inventory in the market. The 2-bedder average entry price is around 2.4 mil. 3-bedder average price is around 4.2 mil, and the 4-bedder average is around 7.1 mil. If we compare this against Dunearn House average entry prices of 2 mil for the 2-bedder, 3 mil for the 3-bedder, and 4 mil for the 4-bedder, Dunearn House appears to offer one of the lowest entry points into the CCR market. Just to recap, Dunearn House was secured at a land cost of 1,410 per square foot per plot ratio. To give a bit of context, back in 2022, the Beauty World site that became 8 at BT was acquired at around 1,343 per square foot per plot ratio. Now compare that against Dunearn House. The difference of $70 is surprisingly small despite 3 years of inflation, rising land costs, rising construction costs, material costs, labor costs. Let's go one step further. In 2017, 4th Avenue Residences located directly opposite Dunearn House was acquired at approximately 1,540 per square foot per plot ratio. That was almost a decade ago. Why am I sharing this with you? Because land costs creates pricing reality. If developers buy land expensive, they simply cannot sell cheaply. On the flip side, if developers buy land cheap, they can potentially pass down the cost savings to buyers. Dunearn House was acquired during a period when interest rates were high. Land bid competition among developers was low, as they were cautious. Hence, Dunearn House was secured at a cost lower than what it would have cost 8 years ago. Not only is it supported by past land prices, but also by future land prices, the best of both worlds. In fact, Dunearn Road Plot 2 has already been sold at approximately 215 PSF PPR higher. And this happened within 1 year, which tells us something very important. Replacement cost is rising fast. So after looking at the location, the Turf City transformation, the rising land costs, the resale performance of nearby projects, and the future buyer pool, what is my honest opinion on Dunearn House? Personally, I don't think Dunearn House is a project you buy simply because it's the cheapest option in the market. Neither do I think it's a project that will appeal to every buyer. If your priority is maximum space, or if you strongly prefer freehold, there are certainly other alternatives worth considering. However, if I look at the project objectively, I believe Dunearn House possesses several qualities that are becoming increasingly difficult to find in today's market. First, you are buying into Bukit Timah, one of Singapore's most established and desirable residential districts. Second, you are benefiting from the largest transformation this area has seen in decades through the Bukit Timah Turf City master plan. And third, you are entering at a land cost position that may look increasingly attractive as future GLS sites continue setting new pricing benchmarks. To me, what makes Dunearn House interesting is that buyers are not purchasing an empty piece of land and hoping something happens in the future. They are buying into an established township with proven schools, established amenities, strong transport connectivity, and a highly desirable residential environment, while at the same time riding on the future growth and transformation of Turf City. That combination, my friend, is quite rare. Of course, no property is risk-free, and every buyer's circumstances are different. That's why I always encourage buyers to evaluate a property not just based on headlines or marketing brochures, but based on their own objectives, holding horizon and exit strategy. If you are currently considering Dunearn House and would like a personalized comparison against nearby resale and new launch alternatives, feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to walk through the numbers and help you determine which option makes the most sense for your situation. This is actually my first YouTube video, so if you have any feedback, questions, or views about Dunearn House, do leave them in the comments section below. I love to hear your thoughts and learn what topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. If you found this video useful, please consider giving it a like, subscribing to my channel. I'll be sharing more property analysis, market insights, and new launch reviews in future videos. And if you know someone currently considering Dunearn House, Bukit Timah, or other new launch opportunities, feel free to share this video with them as well. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.